Hey everybody, this is Dana with CoachDanaInspires.com, and we are so happy you're here for Business Inspirations. I'm Dana Morgan Barnes, and I am Coach Dana Inspires, and I work with female entrepreneurs and business owners to help them find their right client, get paid what they're actually worth, and then go find exactly who you want to work with. Today, I have a fabulous, absolutely fabulous guest today. She is a good friend, a fabulous coach, and just a communication expert. So I hope she helps me with my communication. Today, we have Shonnie Cline from Corona Environmental Consulting. Thank you, Shonnie, so much for being with us today. How are you?
I am really good, Dana. How about you, dear?
You know what? If it got any better, I mean, what is it? It's a Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'm here in beautiful Cheyenne, Wyoming, and I get to speak to you. What
Right.
could be
And
better?
we both woke up on the right side of the dirt. So I think that's a really good start for the day,
We
personally.
are we
Yeah.
are feeling good.
Look at it.
Speaking of feeling good, so you okay? The family's okay through this Corona
Everybody's
thing?
good. We've had, 2020 I was one of those people that really flourished in 2020. Come to find out, what I really desperately needed was some balance in my life. My office is about an hour away from my home, and when we were forced to work at home, I started getting some balance back in my life, and consequently, it has just ended up being one of the best years of my life, because I really got to start spending more time working on other things other than driving. Go figure.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have discovered new and exciting ways of being
Yeah.
a better version of themselves because of this being forced to sequester ourselves. Yay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
here we are. So I'm glad that worked out positive for you. So
Good.
you talk to people all over the world, basically, your clients. So are they feeling, now that we're 10 months, into our Corona adventure, what are you hearing? Are you hearing people being more positive, people still being super wary? How are they talking to you about it?
So yeah, it's interesting because the clients in particular that I work with, first of all, I work in the water industry, and what that means is I work with public utilities for the most part. There's also some private utilities that I work with. So when you're working for a water utility, if you're in a management position or an office position, those people did actually go and start working from home. But the folks that are in operations, of course, we don't really want them to be treating our water from their kitchen. So they actually went in, and work continued forward really for water utilities in pretty much the same way, though. Like I said, those office people, and actually even working with the regulatory agencies, they were all working from home. So I think for the most part, really there was a lot of consistency. At the very beginning stages, though, I know that most people didn't really know how long it was going to last. One of the issues with water utilities is workforce and making sure you have enough people around. So there was a lot of concern early on that we weren't going to have the essential staff to keep water and wastewater utilities going. But we've been very, very fortunate, I think, in a lot of ways that utilities did react quickly. They tend to be very prepared for risks like this. So let's face it, 2020, even 2021, as we're seeing things going on in Texas, you can't be prepared for everything. So
Right.
for the most part, everybody seems like they're doing quite well. I think
Good.
we're all looking forward to maybe being able to get back to conferences to see one another, though.
That would be nice. That's one of the things I do miss desperately. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So you are a communications kind of gal, and we're going to be talking about developing healthy internal communications that increase productivity and organizational effectiveness.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's jump in. What
Yeah.
can we as entrepreneurs, business people, what can we do right now to really jump into that?
Yeah, I think that one of the big challenges that people face, and I mean, this is not just in business, this happens in people's homes, is that I think that, we experience our lives from inside our own head. So we tend to not be telepathic and really understanding what is going on inside other people's minds and heads. And, I heard something that was super good this last weekend, and it was that, we can't know what somebody's history is. And so therefore we can't really understand always why they react the way they do to certain things. Like, you can be looking at somebody and going, well, that doesn't bother me at all. And somebody else can be flipping out in the corner. So, I think that one of the really important things for organizational effectiveness is to not make assumptions that you understand where someone is coming from. And you and I are both very high energy people. I think one of the challenges for high energy people and people that are like, hey, I'm here, is to be able to dial it back a little bit for those folks that don't function at that same wavelength. And that really is one of those things where it's a nuance that is so incredibly important to not having people in your team shut down. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're working for yourself, you might think, this is great. I've got it nailed because I don't have to not worry what other people are thinking, though that's not entirely true either, because you do have a customer base typically. So if you figured out how to be effective in your own business, working for yourself, that is one thing. It's when you start bringing on staff that typically things start to go downhill, or can go downhill. And I've worked with both private and public organizations, again, where you can have somebody that is a fabulous, let's say, engineer. They're remarkable. Like, they can figure out anything. But once they get into leadership positions, they aren't as effective. And it's because before they were in a controlled environment. Once you start working with other people, the control goes out the window. Right. And so I think that can be very frustrating to people. Yeah.
Well, and also dealing with clients.
Oh, yeah.
So as you said, you and I are slightly high energy. And if we, this client, possible client, may be coming to us thinking, okay, I like, I know what she does. And someone said something, I got a good referral. I really want to try to work with this person. If I don't know them and I blow them over with my enthusiasm, they may feel uncomfortable. So I know that I have had to learn to dial it down, as you say, and which is sometimes very difficult for me, because I just love to just be me. But it doesn't always work in every situation. And I have learned that, and I have gotten much, much better at it as I have, let's just say, gotten more experience. We're not going to talk about age.
Right. Right. Well, you can be old and not learn from experience. So there's that.
Well, okay. Yes. And I have learned, believe you me. So tell me a little bit about the type of clients that you work with.
So right now, the entire client base that I work with are people that are in the water industry in some way, shape, or form. And so typically the clients that I'm working directly with, they're not the operations crews. They're either a general manager, or they're in communications, or they're working in client services. And if you're a general manager in the water industry, God bless you, because you've got so many moving parts. And I think that one of the major challenges that the water industry faces, though I think this goes across most municipalities and really into businesses that are diverse, that they've got maybe more than a singular focus, is being able to understand how all of the different departments and divisions within an organization actually need to be able to cross-function and work together. And you'll hear oftentimes in municipalities and water utilities and businesses, for that matter, that, oh my goodness, this is a very siloed business. And so when people get into their own, it's, we tend to be tribal as human beings. So we can get into, let's say you're working in public works. Public works is that, they're great. And maybe within public works, they've got their own little silos. But the reality is for the organization to function effectively, they need to have a way of being able to communicate when they need to between departments. And so that is something that I think that, intuitively people know that, but I also feel like they don't always necessarily understand what type of information and the regularity that the other departments need that information without actually really having, it's funny because people will go to a family counselor, right? Like if you and your spouse, not that that would ever happen with you and John, were to ever have issues, sometimes you can't really work it out on your own because you're so in it, you can't see it for yourself. So the role that I will play is actually something that's, it's almost so simple that you're just like, well, we could have done that. Yeah, you could have, but you're so in it, you can't. So we'll actually literally flesh out on a whiteboard, or we've most recently started using Mural, which is an online app to really chart out and do flows of information and how things need to work between people. So that has been extremely effective to be able to actually show folks, this guy over here that's in his cubicle, he has information and you didn't know it, and your life would have been made so much easier if you would have known that.
Right.
So being able to at least chart channels of communication is important. That doesn't mean it'll always happen though. So that's a whole nother layer. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Hello.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And I think, it is funny that, couples, people's, friends, family members, you always have this sort of weird dynamic. And
Right.
sometimes it does help to go out and get an outside person's view of it,
Right.
because you are so deep in the weeds that you really don't see it. And companies are not famous for getting out there and getting that feedback from someone else, and
Right.
having someone like you who is you're an expert in this intercommunication thing, that it's fabulous that there's people like you that can help companies and organizations do it so much better. And what a better world it would be if we all had a little bit of counseling from someone like you. So great stuff. What what is so so you work with these people. So what are their biggest challenges that the people that you work with? What are they bumping their heads up
So,
against?
I think in particular in a utility environment, you're going day to day, and I don't want to say that you're putting out fire to fire, because I don't want people to think that that's not true. But there's some things that you do every day and they're the same, and God bless you. As we're going into a time where utilities infrastructure is definitely aging, when there's emergencies, and there are emergencies when pipelines fail and things like that, that's when you really start to see cracks and weaknesses in how utilities will communicate, not only internally, but that also filters externally. And the other thing is large projects that, you can have Joe sitting at his desk and he has in his mind entirely how this project needs to go. But it isn't until the project actually kicks off that Joe knowing how it should go doesn't mean a thing if nobody else sees the vision.
Right.
And so the biggest challenge is oftentimes for utilities, and I think that this really does cross over into businesses as well, is being able to sit down before a project starts and bring in those people that you would be the least likely people in the world that you would ever think that you would need to talk to. But they are, because they may know a nuance that is going to flip the entire project on its head if it's not addressed early. One of the projects, I used to work for the Water Research Foundation and as a project manager, and boy, that was eons ago. And one of the projects that we had was working with utilities to identify who needs to be brought in from an operations level early on to do design work, because it's the guy that's actually working on the pumps that will know if the ceiling is too low, I'm not going to be able to get in there and access an internal wrench. So I always say to people, you don't know what you don't know. And the only way for you to know is to invite conversation early on in a project. Because if you don't, inevitably you're going to have somebody going, hey, I could have told you that was going to happen. And then that just makes you angry inside. So we try to prevent that. But I think that once you can actually learn from a single project how communication should at least be started, it can carry over to other things. And again, I think one of the things that we all need to realize, whether you're in a business or a utility or a family, is failed communication internally affects the people around you and outside of the organization, and that can affect your customers. So when you have failed to have good communication internally, especially for utilities, it can dramatically impact customers if they don't find out in a timely manner, like they're going to have a water shut off or something similar to that.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, and it does, you're speaking mostly from, the water utility business, but everything you're saying absolutely fits with
Right.
every kind of business in the world.
Yes.
If whether you might build widgets, or
Right.
you might publish books, or you might whatever it is, if you don't communicate
Yep.
clearly and with the right people, things fall apart, and then you're in a mess. And like you said, yeah, I could have told you that.
Yeah, and that just it makes you want to strangle the person, which is not a healthy thing to do. But second of all, then if somebody that's introspective and be like, yeah, I should have asked them.
Right, absolutely. Well, let's hope we all live and learn, but let's learn now without having to experience firsthand.
Right.
So, speaking of that, how does an organization's internal communication, impact their customers? Again, we're talking about utilities, but businesses in general.
Oh,
How
yeah.
does all of this impact us and or the people coming to us? How can we help that out?
I mean, it's interesting because, I've worked for public utilities, I've worked in consulting, and I've worked for nonprofits. And there is a universal thing that happens. And that is that if you do not know what's going on inside of your company, and I think people assume that they do, especially in leadership positions, because it's like, you get so busy doing the things that you do day in, day out, and especially in leadership, you're jumping from one thing to the next. But if you are not staying in touch with the people that are actually doing the work, you will not be able to accurately always foresee some of the issues that can come up that can impact your external clients. And so that is why it's some of the best managers that I ever had were the ones that actually would take time, and it didn't have to be every day, but would stroll around and stick their head in the office and go, hey, just wanted to see what's up. And you can feel that comfort then to be able to go and actually have a conversation with somebody when things are not really going well. And so one of the things that I oftentimes see in a utility environment, but this definitely crosses over to all businesses, is if you don't have that relationship, that relationship capital when things are good, when things go south, if you don't have that relationship with your employees and they're afraid of you when things are good, you will not find out soon enough when things are going wrong to be able to turn it around quick enough that it doesn't impact your external clients.
Absolutely. And I agree with that. And I too have been in the corporate world and worked in the financial industry, and I've worked in mostly the financial industry. I don't know what the heck I'm talking about, but anyway, I have done that most of my life, and it is amazing when your manager is so approachable.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about sitting around for 15, 20 minutes talking about your weekend, but they're just approachable that you can go and say, this went wrong.
Right.
And them not leap at you in a, unhappy way really makes a difference. And I have worked for those managers and those directors where you could just go in and talk to them and and they're so grateful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And then I've worked for others where, here, you go. No, you go. No, I'm not going. And we were all afraid. And what a difference it makes.
It makes a huge difference. One experience that I had that, I think has just really helped me to better frame how I also work with clients and talk to people about things is there was this one time that I was out visiting clients. My job was to stay in touch with the clients, and then I was really the client liaison. And I found out something that was going to dramatically impact our company, our organization financially. I was on a trip, and I mean, there were nights I wanted to cry myself to sleep. I'm thinking, oh dear Lord, I mean, I got to take this back. And it was not good news. It was not good news. And so thankfully at that time, I had a supervisor whom I dearly loved. He and I got along great. His personality was great for me. I can't say that it was great for everybody always, but for me, it was great. And we went and we locked ourselves in an office and we talked through what the solutions were going to be. And then we went to the executive director with it. And, you know, because I had that type of partnership with my immediate supervisor,
Right.
I didn't feel like I was going to be left out to hang to bring all of this really crummy information back. And consequently, what we ended up doing was, as an organization, we responded and we took a lead in responding. We weren't reactive, we were proactive in addressing the concerns. It did change the entire dynamic of the organization to this day, it has, but we were able to develop a strategy then that that did not leave us vulnerable to the financial impact that was coming our way.
Right. Yeah, and that's just it. So if you're a manager out there, if you're a director, if you're the owner, and think about how you are interacting with your employees and how employees from one department to another department. I mean, it's really that cross-pollinating that really makes it work. And
and the other thing too, Dana, that I would really say is just because your supervisors and you are chummy and you get along super duper swell and you think that they're just delightful human beings, you are seeing their relationship to you because you're in I guess, you know, if you look at the grand scope of leadership, you're above them in the leadership tree. You need to pay more attention, not to how they treat you, to how they are treating their employees,
right.
and the people that are working for them, because you might not see that somebody is a poor leader, whereas the people below them are flailing because they are not being treated with respect, the same respect that you're being treated by that supervisor.
Right.
So that is a major challenge. You know, I think one of the things that I was so blessed, because I did work for an organization early enough in my career that hired a coach. I had a coach. I learned a lot about myself. A lot of it was painful. You know, you're learning when you're in pain. You know, I'm like, ow, this is no fun. And but I think that's how you're growing. And so for me to learn the different personality types, whether you use the Enneagram or, you know, there's so many different ways of doing it. It really helped me to understand my position better working within my team. And the other thing that I learned was I didn't have to like someone, like palsy, you know, we're going to go out and have a beer after work type thing, to be able to be effective in working with them. And,
absolutely.
And I think that is something that is, you know, we all need to work on the inside of ourselves before we can effectively work with people in a team.
Right, right. And being buddies after work does not equal a great working relationship that's effective for not just you, the department, and the whole company. Yeah,
right.
Seen that. Absolutely not a good thing.
Right.
So I think we need to address the elephant that's in the room, or possibly the puppy that's in the room.
Yes.
I keep seeing Augie's little head. So let's introduce your admin.
That's my coworker.
Yes.
We do occasionally have conflicts with the coworkers. Yeah, because they'll occasionally get a little rowdy. So, you know, we've been holding our breath this whole time. Nobody barks, that the trash man doesn't come. Yeah.
So keep that communication going with your coworker,
right?
And he will respond so much better. Shonnie, I just want to say thank you so much. Our time, believe it or not, has zipped through. We are all done. Head spinning speed of fabulous information. I took lots of notes that really can apply to so many organizations and situations. Get our folks some information about you and how, if they have any questions, they might be able to reach out to you. And this is, if I can get my computer to go someplace. Hello. Well, maybe not. Okay. There you go. Shonnie Cline. And this is her email, skline at Corona, ENV for environmental, .com. So if you have questions about, you know, maybe pinpointing more of what she was talking about, a specific point or something, you want to have some information, She's more than happy to share her knowledge with you. And if you have any questions about coaching, if you're an entrepreneur, and I focus on women entrepreneurs, but men don't cry. I actually have several male clients, so I'm an equal opportunity kind of gal. I like to coach everybody I can where it's a good fit. We want to have good fits. And so Shonnie happens to be a great fit for me for how we can share business ideas. So we are going to be sharing a webinar soon, Shonnie and I, and our other fabulous friend, Billy Ortega. So
Yes.
we are going to be doing a webinar. So look forward to that, guys and gals.
Yes.
And in the meantime, here we are. If we can be of service to you, reach out, let's talk. And next Tuesday, we'll have another business inspiration. Look forward to seeing you. Thank you, Shonnie, so much, and have a great day.